Welcome to this session. Greetings to all of you. My name is Ankit Sharma, and I'm continuing the discussion on the previous year questions on polity. This is a continuing series, and I'm hoping that you're learning and enjoying the information we share here. We are going to move on from where we discussed, where we left off last time. And so this is the first question that we discussed. It's a 2018 question, and it deals with the concept of rule of law. Okay. So, again, our idea is not only to deal with the question, but to develop a better understanding about the options here, because there is always a limited amount of resources from which the UPSC is going to prepare questions, and they will only repackage them. But the repackaging is done in such an elegant manner that sometimes we're not able to decipher patterns. But this class, in a sense, is an insight into how these ideas can be repackaged in different questions. And once we nail the idea, once we understand the idea, we're able to answer the following question. Okay, I think the logic is fairly simple here. Now, rule of law. We have four options over here, and they're arranged in a set in which we have to identify the correct order. The first option is indeed correct. Rule of law implies, or is actually, the limitation of powers is actually the essence of rule of law. Okay, let us understand this with an elaborated example. Let's say if I come from a particular social, political, economic, or cultural background in which I have a worldview. Let's say my worldview says that there should be a vegetarian society. Okay, that's my particular cultural or social idea or value system. Now, with that worldview, I generate a political consensus around me and become let's say, the chief minister of a state or the cabinet minister at the union government. Now, my worldview is legitimately, right in my eyes, and it also must be provided an opportunity to do, to carry the society in terms of favoring my worldview. I'm right in pursuing my worldview, and I'm right in creating a political and social consensus, and doing something with respect to that worldview in the society that I operate. I'm absolutely entitled to do that as a free and individual citizen. So let's say now I have become a member of parliament or a chief minister or a cabinet minister, and I want to propagate this worldview of vegetarianism even forward. But to make it a final instrument of power, I need to change something in the existing structures of the law. Let's say the Constitution says that no one shall be discriminated against because of the dietary choices. Dietary choices include the kind of food that you want to eat, which includes vegetarianism and non-vegetarianism, right? Now, at some point of time, my worldview and the constitutional ideals are going to come in a head-to-head confrontation, right? Because the Constitution says that anyone can eat whatever he wants, and I say that vegetarianism is supposed to be or should be the norm of a society. Now, when they come to clash with each other, it is always the rule of law which wins. Okay, which means that my political, social, cultural, or economic ideas are going to be secondary to what is written in the Constitution or the laws made under the Constitution. Okay, so this is what we understand by the rule of law. The element of rule of law is that it provides a limitation, a kind of strictening against the powers which are active in a society. It doesn't mean to say that the powers are wrong or invalid. No, they have efficiency and they perhaps even have validity. But unless they are codified as the law, they will always be in the second character compared to the rule of law, which means to say that the letter of the law is supreme in a country like India. Okay, so limitations of powers, all powers, political, social, economic, cultural, all forms of powers, they have validity, legitimacy within their domain, but they do not have the supremacy over the law. whatever is written in the constitution, whatever is written under a statute passed by the parliament is superior to the personal ideas of human beings or political parties. And that is what is the conceptual bedrock of the Indian constitution, which means the rule of law, which implies limitation of powers. This question has been asked previously also in different dimensions, in which what we see is a kind of a understanding of the constitution, which means, for instance, constitution by definition implies that there is going to be a limitation on powers. Okay, so this is a 2018 question. In 2016, the same idea was asked in a different manner. Instead of rule of law, there was the constitution. What does the constitution by definition mean? That it limits the powers. Okay, I hope this idea is clear. Now, once the power is limited, option number 2 automatically becomes logically correct. What does it mean? Number 1 is correct. Equality before law. If 1 is correct, then, as a consequence, as a logical necessity, there will be equality of everyone before the law. So, for instance, the law will not discriminate between the vegetarians and the non-vegetarians, between the upper caste and the lower caste, etc. Right? So, it's a kind of a equal status and opportunity given by law, regardless of personal or cultural or political or social affiliations. Right? So, this is a natural logical follow-up. People's responsibility to the government. Now, this is incorrect because it is arranged in a reverse order. Ulta arrange hai ye. People's responsibility to the government ki jagah hona chahiye government's responsibility to the people. Okay, because it is the responsibility of the government to not discriminate people except for the provisions given by the rule of law. As we say, Article 21 reads like this: no one shall be deprived of his life or personal liberty except by the procedure established by law. Right? So this is arranged in reverse order and hence is the incorrect of the list. And liberty and civil rights again follow from limitations, because now when you are not when I am as a vegetarian unable to pressurize or persuade you legally to adapt to vegetarianism, a logical follow-up is liberty, right? Then you're liberal. You're in a way, you have the liberty to choose what kind of dietary prescriptions you want to adapt to, and which implies civil rights also. So the correct answer in this regard is C. 1, 2, and 4 only. 3 is incorrect because it is arranged in a reverse order. This idea, this theme is taken and repackaged year after year in the examination. So you can see something similar coming forward in the prelims 2021 also. Let's move on to the next question. A parliamentary system of government is one in which, this is a question from 2020. Okay, let's take all the options one by one. All political parties in the parliament are represented in the government. ठीक है, common sensically ही आप इसको negate कर सकते हो. आपको देखिए कुछ चीजें you can just draw from your common sense references by watching some parliamentary proceedings on YouTube or other streaming websites. थोड़ा बहुत तो आप देखते होगे ना कहीं, जैसे कि आप में से सबने देखा होगा वो पार्लियामेंट का मोमेंट where Mr. Rahul Gandhi was caught winking at the parliament, or perhaps at some people in the parliament, right? So just draw some information from these little info bits given at different parts at social media and all that. So अब जब ये कहता है, let's take an example of TMC, Trinamool Congress, right? Trinamool Congress is a party which is represented in the parliament. Yes, all Mr. Derek O'Brien is a member of the Trinamool Congress and he speaks in the parliament. There are other MPs also which you see speak in the parliament. But does the TMC provide any cabinet minister? Is there any person in the cabinet who is from the TMC? No, which means that this statement is incorrect. All political parties in the parliament are not represented in the government should be the correct answer. Right? It is not an obligation. So this is incorrect. The government is responsible to the parliament and can be removed by it. This is the correct statement. Okay. The government is responsible to the parliament is indeed the essence of a parliamentary democracy. Okay. Because you see that member of parliaments ask questions to the prime minister, to the chief minister, to the cabinet ministers, etc. And the cabinet minister and the prime minister have to, respond to those questions, even if they feel that the parliament has become a chaotic, spectacular scene where no possible dialogue is going to happen. So this is the implication of accountability of the government to the parliament. Okay. And can be removed by it is also correct. As you would remember this viral sensation on YouTube, you would see Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji making this statement that Sarkar ho na ho, Sadan chalna chahiye. And then he tenders his resignation, which means that there was a no confidence motion against the government. And by the way, remember this, when we speak about the parliament, we speak about the entire house, which is the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha. But when we speak about the government, we speak about the executive, which means the cabinet ministers and the prime minister and the president, therefore. Okay, so the government is responsible to the parliament and can be removed by it. There is the concept of no confidence motion, by which if the parliament loses its confidence in the government, which means the cabinet or the prime minister, then that government has to change. And then there is a whole, realignment of forces, people coming and making coalition governments and trying to attain the majority which can sustain themselves in the parliament. So this is also, this is indeed correct. See, the government is elected by the people and can be removed by them. Now, this is partially true that yes, the government is elected by the people, but once it has been elected by the people, it cannot be removed by them. In that kind of a political theory, if one day you like the government and you make him the king, and next day you feel that no, you've made a mistake and you overthrow the government, there will never be a stability in a society. What you will have is called in political science terms populism or mob rule, sometimes also known as a direct democracy. Okay, right? It's one of the few things where you can't trust the people with. You give the people a chance to make the government, but you can't give the people the chance to overthrow the government at every given instance. Otherwise, the society would never have political stability. So this is incorrect because of this reason. It cannot be removed by them. Okay, it can be removed by the parliament. It can be removed by them in a future instance when there is a proper electoral functioning, etc., but not in the middle. The government is chosen by the parliament but cannot be removed by it before completion of a fixed term. Now, if B is correct, this is by logic incorrect, because as you remember from this example, we have seen that governments have been removed by the parliament, and therefore the completion of a fixed term is not a necessary condition, and therefore this option becomes incorrect. What we learn from this question is principally the dissection of each of these ideas and how you can, by understanding simple ideas, concepts, and logic of what follows in polity, will make you empowered to answer these kind of questions correctly. Okay, so it's not only a lot of memorization of facts, but it's a lot of fun and game and entertainment and drawing from a lot of sources that you are anywhere aware of and using them during the examination. That's the key to master this examination. I hope you had some fun and enjoyment during this session, and I will see you next time. Thank you for your time.